If there's one thing we know about Dana White, it's that he is a power slap savant. He's bald. According to Josh Thompson, he sleeps with fighters' wives. He's Eskimo brothers with Brendan Schaub. He wants to be Eskimo brothers with John Jones' wife. He's bald. And his worst nightmare came true yesterday. Dana White cannot stand the notion that the UFC does not have all of the best fighters in the world. He cannot stand it. But look, there is a real argument that Francis Ngannou is the best heavyweight on planet Earth. His fight yesterday against Renan Ferreira was terrifying. And the terrifying thing about it was, it went essentially how I figured it was going to go. And that did not make it any less scary. I mean, look, Renan Ferreira is legitimately a very good striker. I don't care what anybody has to say. You know, he's 6'8". He has real one-punch knockout power. He manages distance well. He has good timing, good accuracy, and he is dangerous to stand with, especially because he just uses his height and range so well. He's standing just on the outside, waiting for you to come in, and as soon as you extend with a right hand, he comes right over the top. And look, based on Ngannou's last fight against Anthony Joshua, it's a very scary prospect to fight somebody who has this ability. But everybody's game plan against Renan Ferreira is to try to take him down. That is what everybody attempts to do. So to me, it was pretty clear. And Ngannou's path to victory is going to come from the wrestling. That will be the easiest way he can win this fight, and that's most likely what he'll do. But Jesus fucking Christ. It's one thing to know that. And it's another thing to watch Francis Ngannou just kneeling over you, raining down ground and pound. I'm tapping to strikes. In that moment, I am going to personally be tapping to strikes because, man, with that amount of power, and now what we're starting to see is he has real positional grappling. Something I have always praised the Dagestani fighters for is that when they take you down, their top pressure is amazing. And the reason for that is they don't just hang on to you for dear life. They get higher than you. They make you carry their weight, and it makes it borderline impossible to try to stand back up. You know, most fighters, once they get a takedown, they kind of just grab your hips and try to pin you. The problem is there's nothing stopping you from just standing back up. That's why you have to get your head higher than your opponents. And again, this is something that we see the best grapplers in the world do, and also Francis Ngannou. And that is just such a scary prospect because getting hit by this guy has always been detrimental. But if he takes you down, and now he's getting higher than you, he's pinning you, he's making it impossible to stand back up. What the fuck do you do about that? I mean, what do you do about that? And not to mention, man, his wrestling is looking legitimately good. Most heavyweights, right, it's a pretty low-skill division. When they shoot a takedown, they just try to run through you. But Francis Ngannou last night cut an angle on Ferreira in order to get the takedown, and it just shows that he is legitimately building up skills. He is becoming well-rounded on top of being a legitimate genetic freak. I mean, look, it's not easy just to muscle a 265-pound guy down. It just isn't. But when you're cutting angles on them, when you're turning the corner and you're spinning them, it is so difficult to maintain your balance as a large man. And Francis Ngannou, he's doing this. And then again, once he gets you down, his ground and pound is just absolutely horrendous. But I think it is fair to mention, a few of those shots were very clearly behind the head. Like, Ngannou just nailed him square on the back of his skull. But, I mean, I don't know. It's tough. Most of the shots were clean. A few of them were pretty bad. But, if we're looking at it just skill for skill based on Ngannou's performance, I don't think it would have made a difference. I mean, Ferreira is not surviving this position. Even if all of the shots were clean, he's not surviving this position. Even if you're blocking the shots, Ngannou's just going to punch into your guard and it's going to knock you out. You're not surviving this position regardless. So, look, of course, according to the rules, Dan Miragliotta should have stopped the fight after the first illegal blow, stood them back up. But look, clearly Francis Ngannou was very well aware of the strengths that Renan Ferreira brought to the table, and he was looking to be very takedown heavy. And look, I don't think Renan was going to stop the takedowns anytime soon. I don't think he was going to prevent Ngannou from getting to a position like this where the ground and pound was coming. So again, skill for skill, I don't think it would have mattered. And at this point, I think it is very fair to ask the question, Is Francis Ngannou the best heavyweight in the world? I mean, who is he in competition with? Of course, Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall. Would Francis beat Jon Jones? I think most people were of the mind that after the second Stipe Miocic fight, that Jon was in trouble. You know, after Francis defended that single leg from Stipe, in most people's minds, they went, uh-oh, yeah, this is bad news for Jon. And I mean, look, it did kind of seem like at the time that Jones was ducking Ngannou. So, I mean, look, is it fair to say he would beat Jon Jones? I'm not quite ready to say that yet, at least not definitively, and here's why. When looking at a Francis Ngannou-Jon Jones fight, I think there's really only two questions that matter. One, can Jones take him down? And two, if he does take him down, can Ngannou survive the submission attempts? And I don't think there's a conclusive answer there. I think, look, at the end of the day, strength plays a massive factor in wrestling. It just does. Of course, the smaller skilled man is going to out-wrestle a bigger unskilled opponent, but at the end of the day, you know, having a massive size advantage is a tremendous advantage in a sport like wrestling. And Stipe Miocic only weighed 230 pounds when he fought Francis Ngannou. I mean, look, the first thing Stipe said after that fight was, I gotta get up to 250, because he was helpless to take down Ngannou, completely helpless. I've said this many times, but when a guy a lot weaker than you shoots a takedown, you just have more time to react. They cannot manipulate you as quick, but when a bigger, stronger person grabs a hold of you, your defense has to be quicker, because they can just manipulate you so much faster. And I think a Jon Jones that, you know, is 250 pounds has a way higher chance of taking down Francis than Stipe does. A way, way higher chance. But look, at this point, that Stipe fight was 4 years ago. To say Ngannou has not made improvements to his skill set, to not say that he's better now than he was back then, is also kind of crazy. So, again, it's tough to say. I don't think there's a straight up answer, but I do think if Jones were to take Ngannou down, he has a massive advantage there. I think the heavyweight division is just not prepared for somebody with the skill set of Jon Jones. I mean, look, Cyril Gane just was not prepared for a heavyweight who had really good wrestling, really good top pressure, but also really good submissions. I mean, let's just be honest. Jailton Almeida is a 205er who has had a ton of success at heavyweight purely because he has good wrestling, good top pressure, and good submissions. I mean, he made it all the way to a title eliminator fight, was doing really well in that fight, and he's a 205er. The skill set Jon Jones brings to the table is dangerous in the heavyweight division. You know, he's been putting in a ton of work with Gordon Ryan. His submissions are dangerous, and I think if he were to take Francis down, I do think you would probably find the submission. But again, can he do it? It's really tough to say. Of course, on the feet, Ngannou is going to have a massive advantage. But again, one thing Jones does do very well is not run into any punches. You know, he likes to put one hand on his cheek, he likes to extend the other hand fully out, and he just will evade, try to stay away, and just try to find opportunities to shoot takedowns. So look, I don't think that Jon Jones is going to pull a JDS or Alistair Overeem and run in throwing wild overhands, ending up way out of position and giving Ngannou the opportunity to tag him. But of course, you know, the longer this fight stays on the feet, the more dangerous it's going to be for Jon. Francis is going to be spamming calf kicks. He's just going to be waiting to touch him with a shot. And if he can't take him down, clearly it's a Francis Ngannou victory. But, you know, it's tough to say. I mean, I think we don't know for sure. I think you can go back and forth on it. As of right now, I think I'm leaning towards Francis to win that fight. I think I'm leaning towards Francis, you know, having made the improvements in his grappling defensively. And I do think he should be the slight favorite in that fight. But it's tough to say. Now, Tom Aspinall, though, that's a different animal. That is a very, very difficult fight for Francis, I think. I think the one question mark with Tom Aspinall is we've never seen him really threatened in the grappling. We've never seen him, you know, off his back. We've never seen his takedown defense. We've never seen him tested in that area. But we know he is very well-rounded everywhere else. Is it safe to assume he's also very competent in that area as well? I mean, maybe. But again, when you look at Francis Ngannou's striking, I do think that at times he can struggle with guys who are very quick and have very good footwork. Again, the Cyril Gane fight, Francis could not close the distance. He was really struggling with Cyril Gane, moving on the outside, stepping in with jabs, and then evading again. Now, again, though, maybe to you that fight completely null and void, doesn't count. Francis was hurt. All right, but, he didn't fight any different in the Stipe fight. It seemed more or less the same. The only difference there was Stipe was the smaller guy who had less reach, who needed to get on the inside. So that fight was very, very different. Now, at times, though, Tom Aspinall has had moments where he stayed in the pocket just a little bit too long. We got touched by Pavlovich that one time, but you would assume in a matchup against Francis Ngannou, where a lot is on the line for a fight like that, Tom would be avoiding that at all costs. Tom would be on the outside just constantly feigning his entry. And that is what's so difficult about fighting Tom Aspinall. He's so ungodly quick and he moves so fast. You don't know when he's going to step in with a right hand that can knock you out with one shot. I mean, Sergey Pavlovich is legitimately a very skilled boxer for the heavyweight division. He has really fast hands, and he had zero timing on Tom's entry. He did not see it coming, and he ate that shot full force. But to make things even worse, you're already having so much trouble timing his entry. Well, you don't know when he's going to throw a calf kick. You don't know when he's going to shoot a takedown. You don't know when he's going to slip your right hand and chain that right into a takedown. And now you're on the ground with him, and he has really good submissions. He himself has very good top pressure. He's just so well-rounded, and again, man, I think he is the best heavyweight we've ever seen. I really do. Of course, Francis just needs to touch you. Of course, but I think Tom Aspinall's speed is the great equalizer here. I think that's going to be a problem. Tom Aspinall was a regular sparring partner of Tyson Fury for a very long time. Francis Ngannou did kind of beat up Tyson Fury at times, but again, I think when you go back and you look at that fight, the majority of the success Francis was having was when Tyson was trying to brawl with him in the pocket. I think, again, the very first punch Tyson Fury threw against Francis Ngannou was a lunging right hand because he was trying to knock Ngannou out. He didn't think Ngannou should have been in there with him, and because of that, he gave Ngannou very good opportunities to counter and have success. I think if he would have stayed on the outside, stayed away from Francis, just jabbed and moved, I don't think the fight would have been that close. And, again, not taking anything away from Francis. I'm really not trying to, but I just think Tom's a different animal, and I think we have seen Ngannou struggle with guys with speed and footwork, and I think Tom has all of that, but also one-punch knockout power. He also has a very competent ground game, very good submissions, and I think he's the best heavyweight in the world, and I think he beats Francis Ngannou.